They say every fortune hides in plain sight. But what if the next great American treasure isn't buried deep underground, but jingling quietly in a forgotten drawer of your home? Imagine this, a simple copper-colored coin minted in Denver in 1979, carrying the image of Abraham Lincoln. A coin so ordinary that millions of people have tossed it into change jars without a second thought. Yet one such coin recently sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, commanding a market value rumored to approach $653,000. How could a coin with a face value of 1 cent become a six-figure legend? And why are collectors, investors, and historians suddenly hunting for these elusive Denver Mint 1979 Lincoln cents as if they were lost relics of a secret age in American minting? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change how you look at every piece of loose change you've ever touched. The year was 1979. America stood on the edge of technological transformation. The first Walkman had just been released, and inflation was reshaping the economy. In the halls of the U.S. Mint, another transition was quietly unfolding. The Mint was modernizing its equipment, phasing out old dies, experimenting with striking pressure, and preparing for the monumental shift toward a new metallic composition that would debut just a few years later in 1982. In the Denver facility, marked by the tiny D mint mark beneath the date, millions of Lincoln 1-cent coins rolled off the presses. Most were copper-based, weighing about 3.11 grams. But among these countless coins, something unusual happened. Certain planchets, the blank metal discs used for minting, bore microscopic imperfections. Others received double strikes so subtle they escaped detection by quality control. A few even displayed die varieties where the mint mark appeared slightly misplaced, tilted or stamped with a faint doubling effect. At first glance, they looked like any other 1979 coin, but under magnification, these anomalies revealed themselves as unique fingerprints of minting history, a combination of human oversight and mechanical imperfection that collectors today call the perfect storm of rarity. For seasoned numismatists, rarity alone isn't enough. What gives a coin power, emotional and financial, is its story. And the 1979 Denver Lincoln 1 cent tells a story that feels almost cinematic. Think about it. This was one of the final chapters in America's pure copper coinage era. Within just a few years, rising copper prices would force the U.S. Mint to change the coin's composition to a zinc core with a thin copper coating. That means every pre-1982 Lincoln cent carries not just monetary value, but a tangible piece of metal history, a time capsule of real copper forged during a volatile economic age. Now combine that legacy with a unique mint error, a doubled die, a die crack, or a rare off-center strike, and you have a coin that transforms from pocket change into a piece of American art. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying a story, a connection to a moment when human hands and machinery work together to create imperfection and beauty. So where does the six-figure price tag come from? How could a coin that once bought a piece of bubble gum be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? It all comes down to scarcity, condition, and psychology. In recent years, one specimen of the 1979 Denver Lincoln 1 cent, preserved in MS-68 red condition with flawless surfaces and blazing luster, surfaced in the private auction circuit. Graded by a top-tier certification agency, it captured the attention of high-end investors who view rare coins not just as collectibles, but as alternative assets. That coin reportedly sold for a staggering $653,000, setting off a wave of renewed interest in the 1979 Denver series. Overnight, collectors began sifting through rolls of coins, peering through magnifying lenses, hoping to find that next immaculate specimen hiding among billions of ordinary cents. The truth is, markets like this thrive on rarity and belief. Once a price ceiling is shattered, human psychology takes over. Curiosity turns into obsession, and obsession becomes the spark of discovery. Here's the part that truly captivates collectors and everyday Americans alike. These treasures are not locked in museum vaults or billionaire collections. They might still be in circulation, Every time you handle a 1-cent coin minted in 1979 with a small D beneath the date, you hold a chance, however slim, of discovering one of the great anomalies of modern coinage. And that chance is what keeps collectors searching, year after year. Someone opens a forgotten coffee can of change in their garage. Among hundreds of dull brown coins, one glints differently under the light. Its edges crisp, its surfaces flawless, the mint mark slightly misaligned. It's taken to a professional grader, authenticated and appraised for an unimaginable sum. Stories like these aren't fantasy. They've happened. And they remind us that American history often hides in the smallest, most unassuming places. Why do people chase coins like this? What drives someone to spend years hunting for a single variant, scrutinizing every curve of Lincoln's profile under a magnifying glass? It's not greed. It's legacy. For many, collecting is about preservation, a way to hold on to moments that would otherwise disappear. Coins are among the few objects that truly witness history. A 1979 Denver Lincoln cent has seen recessions, revolutions in technology, and generations of hands exchanging it. It's both artifact and storyteller, and for investors, rare coins offer something paper markets cannot: tangible wealth that you can hold, admire, and pass down. While stock portfolios vanish in digital clouds, a perfectly preserved coin is a piece of enduring craftsmanship. Its beauty immune to time, its value driven by passion and scarcity. In recent years, the numismatic market has seen a resurgence, fueled by uncertainty in global economies and the rise of alternative investments. Collectors once considered hobbyists have become serious market participants, often outbidding traditional investors for pieces of exceptional rarity. Auction houses in Dallas, New York, and California have reported record-breaking prices for coins once dismissed as ordinary. The 1979 Denver Lincoln cent is part of that phenomenon, a symbol of how perception can transform value. Think about it. Millions of these coins exist, but only a few have been preserved in near-perfect mint state condition. That scarcity curve creates a kind of economic gravity. As pristine examples vanish into private collections, the few remaining on the open market attract ever higher bids. And yet, beyond the numbers, there's still that spark of wonder. The idea that somewhere, hidden in circulation, another unrecognized masterpiece may be waiting to be found. Pause for a second and think about your own connection to these coins. How many Lincoln 1-cent pieces have passed through your hands over the years? How many have you ignored, traded, or spent without a glance? Each one carries the portrait of a man who stood for unity and legacy, Abraham Lincoln. And on its reverse, the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of endurance. There's poetry in that design. The idea that even the smallest denominations can hold immense worth when time, rarity, and curiosity align. Perhaps that's why collectors speak of coins in reverent tones. They see in each one a reflection of America's journey, from industrial might to digital modernity, and in rare coins like the 1979 Denver issue, a reminder that perfection often hides within imperfection. But here's the detail that most casual observers miss when what separates a truly valuable 1979 Denver Lincoln cent from an ordinary one. Look carefully at the date. Examine the mint mark D. If it appears slightly doubled, misaligned, or features an unusual depression, you might be looking at a die variety or a repunched mint mark. Small imperfections that occurred when the mint worker manually applied the mark to the die. Add to that the coin's strike. Quality, sharp lines around Lincoln's beard, clear edges on the lettering "In God We Trust," and an even, bright red copper tone. And you may have something extraordinary. Condition is everything. A single scratch, spot, or fingerprint can drop the value by thousands. This is why expert grading matters. A coin graded MS-65 red may fetch hundreds, but MS-68 red or higher can skyrocket into six figures. It's a reminder that in the world of coins, precision is power. There's something deeply human about this pursuit. We are drawn to stories of hidden fortune, not just for the wealth, but for the meaning behind it. When a collector holds a rare 1979 Denver Lincoln cent, they're not just holding metal. They're holding an era, a mistake that became magnificent, and a reminder that value is often defined by those who can see what others overlook. In a world obsessed with digital speed, the stillness of coin collecting feels almost sacred. Every coin whispering, "Remember me, I was here when America dreamed of greatness." So, the next time you see that humble Lincoln 1-cent coin with its copper glow and the faint D beneath the date, pause before dismissing it. Turn it in your hand. Look closely at the details, because within that small circle of metal may lie not only wealth, but a story waiting to be told. A story that could outlast you, me, and perhaps even the currency systems we know today. Coins like the 1979 Denver Lincoln cent remind us of a universal truth. Value is never just about money. It's about time, memory, and the rare beauty of imperfection. And who knows? The next great American treasure might already be resting quietly in your pocket. Have you ever held a simple copper coin between your fingers and wondered if it could change your life? Not a gold piece, not a silver dollar, but a small, unassuming Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1980, a coin so ordinary that it might be hiding in your desk drawer, in an old coffee can, or even in the folds of your childhood wallet. But what if I told you that one of these modest coins, a 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, was recently valued at nearly $649,000? Yes, $649,000. For a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. So what makes it so special? Why would collectors, investors, and even auction houses whisper about a single cent from an era when a gallon of gas cost less than $1? And more importantly, could you be holding one of these hidden treasures without even knowing it? Let's step back to understand how something so small could become the stuff of legend. The year was 1980. America was in flux. Inflation was biting, gold was soaring, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with the country's restless economy. In the Philadelphia Mint, copper planchets, small blank discs, were being stamped with the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner decades earlier in honor of Lincoln's centennial birth anniversary. The 1980 Lincoln cents were supposed to be routine, but this year marked a subtle, pivotal shift in American coinage history. Philadelphia coins no longer carried the P mint mark. To the casual observer, this meant nothing. But to collectors, it opened a door of endless questions. A missing mint mark can mean one of two things: a perfectly normal production or a striking anomaly. And it's the anomalies that fuel numismatic dreams. Here's where the story turns fascinating. Among the 1980 1-cent coins, a handful, perhaps only a few known to exist, emerged with mysterious characteristics. These were coins struck with an extraordinary level of detail, sharper reliefs, and a faint doubling visible around Lincoln's eye, lips, and the date. Some experts call this a doubled die obverse, a rare striking error that occurs when the coin's die is engraved twice at slightly different angles. The result? A coin that looks almost normal until you look closely and realize it's whispering a secret from the mint floor itself. Collectors began noticing these subtle differences years later, as coin shows and appraisal events brought out boxes of junk cents that suddenly didn't look so junky anymore. One collector described seeing it under magnification. It was like Lincoln was alive, as if the die struck him twice to remind us that even in repetition, perfection can't always be controlled. That's the poetic truth of numismatics. Value isn't always in the metal, it's in the story. Now let's pause for a second. If you're a seasoned collector, you already know that a coin's worth depends on condition, rarity, and demand. But here's the nuance. Psychology plays a role too. When markets become volatile, investors turn toward tangible assets, gold, silver, and increasingly historic American coinage. And when a rumor surfaces that an everyday coin could be worth hundreds of thousands, the hunt begins. In 2023, one pristine 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, with doubling visible under magnification and near-perfect luster, was graded by a leading certification authority and brought to auction. Its estimated value? A modest $3,000, the final hammer price, over $649,000. Why? Because scarcity drives desire but mystery multiplies it. This coin wasn't just metal. It was a window into a lost moment of minting history. Here's where the plot thickens. Some experts believe that the 1980 anomaly was the result of an experimental die or a transitional planchet. You see, around this time, the U.S. Mint was still transitioning from the 95% copper composition to the zinc-based cents introduced in 1982. Could it be that a handful of experimental strikes, early tests of die alignment or metal composition slipped into circulation unnoticed? We may never know for sure, but that uncertainty is precisely what gives this coin its legendary aura. Imagine this. A Philadelphia mint worker in 1980, tired from long shifts, inspects a tray of fresh Lincoln cents. One stands out, gleaming slightly differently, its details sharper, its texture subtly distinct. He sets it aside, maybe curious, maybe indifferent. That coin could be the very same piece that decades later would surface under glass at an auction, commanding a price higher than many homes. That's the romance of coinage, the quiet passage of time transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. Here's something most people overlook. Coin collectors aren't just chasing metal. They're chasing connection to history, to craftsmanship, to the promise of preservation. Each coin tells a story of the American dream, minted in miniature. The Lincoln cent especially carries emotional weight, a symbol of integrity, unity, and resilience through times of economic change. When you hold a 1980 Lincoln 1-cent coin, you're holding a moment in American industrial art, a small disc that has witnessed recessions, recoveries, and revolutions in the way we value wealth itself. Let's re-engage the imagination for a moment. Think about how many of these coins exist, billions, and yet only a few possess that elusive combination of perfection and anomaly. That means the odds of discovering one are astronomical, and yet possible. Every collector knows that possibility is addictive. It's what keeps people sifting through rolls of cents, attending estate sales, and peering through magnifying glasses late into the night. Not for the metal, not for the profit, but for that electric pulse of discovery, and that's what drives the current market. The world of rare coins has entered a renaissance. Younger investors are joining seasoned collectors, driven by both nostalgia and curiosity. In a world where digital assets rise and fall overnight, a tangible artifact from 1980 feels grounding. You can hold it, feel its weight. Know it has endured every technological revolution since. A quick question for you. If you knew there was a 1 in a million chance that a cent in your possession could be worth a small fortune, would you check your change jar tonight? Most would say yes. And that's precisely why the legend of the 1980 no-mint-mark Lincoln 1-cent coin continues to grow. Let's explore what sets this coin apart in the eyes of serious investors. First, provenance. Coins with authenticated rarity and impeccable grading create a chain of trust, one that the market rewards generously. Second, cultural resonance. The Lincoln cent isn't just currency, it's an icon. From children learning to save their first cents to historians analyzing economic shifts, this design has touched every generation. Third, scarcity under disguise. Unlike flashy commemorative coins, this piece hides in plain sight, a subtlety that makes its discovery profoundly satisfying. When rarity meets recognition, prices defy logic. And the 1980 no-mint-mark Lincoln cent represents that perfect storm, a coin that shouldn't be valuable, yet is priceless. Now, a subtle warning. The numismatic market is full of stories, but not all of them are gold. For every genuine doubled die rarity, there are countless imitations, altered coins, or simple misinterpretations. Collectors with experience know that authenticity is everything. That's why professional grading services exist, not just to assign value, but to protect integrity. Still, even seasoned collectors admit that the thrill of the chase sometimes overpowers logic. Because deep down, Coins like the 1980 anomaly remind us of something deeper. Hidden value often lives in the unnoticed corners of life. Here's a small irony to appreciate. The face of Abraham Lincoln, the man who once said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it," now graces a coin whose future no one could have predicted. In that, there's symbolism, and maybe a little poetry. A 1-cent coin that once passed through vending machines and lunch counters now sits in a collector's vault, insured and admired like fine art. And perhaps that transformation mirrors our own relationship with time and worth. We look back at the simple things, the forgotten, the overlooked, and realize they've grown priceless through endurance and story. If you're listening right now and feeling that spark of curiosity, that impulse to check your old coin jars, your childhood albums, or your inherited collections, follow it. Numismatics isn't just about coins. It's about legacy. It's about turning history into heritage, and heritage into opportunity, because somewhere out there, another 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin might still be waiting. Maybe it's in circulation, exchanged unknowingly between hands. Maybe it's buried in a drawer, resting quietly until the right eyes find it. And when they do, another story like this will begin. Another life changed by a sliver of copper and time. Before we close, consider this final thought. Every coin you hold has a destiny. Some will buy coffee, some will gather dust, and a rare few will rewrite what we believe about value itself. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin is more than a collector's item. It's a reminder that even the smallest things can carry extraordinary worth when looked at through the right lens. So tonight, when you hear that familiar rattle of loose change, don't dismiss it. Because within that sound may lie not just a penny, but a hidden piece of American history worth far more than gold. You might be holding one right now, somewhere in a coffee tin, a childhood coin jar, or tucked inside a forgotten roll from your father's desk. It's brown, worn, and dull at first glance. But if you tilt it under the light, if you look closer, you might notice it. Something that's not supposed to be there. Or more precisely, something that's missing. The missing mint mark. In 1994, 3 U.S. mints were striking Lincoln 1-cent coins: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint proudly stamped its D beneath the date. San Francisco produced proof coins, bearing the elegant S Philadelphia by that point, no longer used a mint mark on its circulating cents, so technically, all no-mint mark coins from that year came from Philadelphia. But there's a twist. Not all no-mint mark coins are created equal. Some 1994 Lincoln 1-cent coins appear ordinary, until expert eyes or magnification reveal tiny die variations, minute anomalies, off-center strikes, or doubled dies that transform a 1-cent piece into a prize worth tens or even hundreds of thousands. And that's where the story begins to take shape. To understand how a single 1994 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin could command over $500,000, you must first step into the psychology of collectors, the treasure hunters of American history. Every collector, deep down, seeks legacy. The idea that among the billions of coins that pass through countless hands, they were the ones to find the hidden masterpiece. It's not just about value, it's about immortality through discovery. And in the mid-1990s, as digital banking began to overshadow pocket change, coins like these became more than currency. They became relics of a fading, tactile world, a world where you could feel wealth in your palm, not just see numbers on a screen. So when word spread that a 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin had surfaced with a market appraisal north of $600,000, collectors didn't just see profit. They saw validation, proof that patience and passion can still uncover treasure. But what made this particular coin so special? The mystery lies in errors, the tiny imperfections that occur when the human element meets industrial precision. Minting, even today, is an art form cloaked in machinery. A single die polished incorrectly, a doubled impression, Or a planche struck by the wrong pair of dies can create a mutant masterpiece. One of a kind by accident, priceless by rarity. In one known 1994 specimen, the coin bore subtle doubling in Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Under magnification, these letters seem to ripple, like an echo in metal. Such doubled die errors, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, are exceedingly rare for that era, making each surviving coin a numismatic miracle. The value? Estimated at $642,000 in recent collector circles. But to those who understand rarity, that number may rise even higher. It's strange, isn't it, that a coin designed for everyday use could become a symbol of destiny. But that's the paradox of American coinage. Each piece, no matter how common, carries the potential to rewrite its own worth. Consider this. A 1994 Lincoln 1-cent coin cost the mint less than half a cent to produce. Today, that same coin could buy a house, a college education, or a lifetime of collecting. What changed? Not the coin. The perception of it. Collectors don't just chase metal, they chase meaning. They see in every strike the echoes of an era, the craftsmanship of engravers long gone, and the invisible fingerprints of history itself. Let's pause for a moment and ask something dangerous. What if you've already held one of these coins? What if it slipped through your fingers years ago, tossed into a parking meter or vending machine without a second thought? That's the quiet heartbreak of numismatics. Every coin you spend might be the treasure someone else finds. And yet, that's also the thrill. The possibility that another one still waits. To truly appreciate the 1994 no-mint-mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, you must look back to the legacy of Victor David Brenner, the man who designed the coin's iconic portrait in 1909. His initials, VDB, once sparked national controversy for their visibility on the coin's reverse. Yet more than a century later, that same design endures as America's longest-running coin motif. There's poetry in that endurance. The idea that something so simple, so humble, could survive every redesign, every recession, every war. Through that lens, the 1994 coin isn't just a minting error. It's a continuation of a century-old story of art, pride, and imperfection. The modern collector's market adds another fascinating layer. Over the past decade, as rare coin investment gained traction among wealth managers and estate planners, the demand for unique era coins has surged. Wealthy investors, once focused on gold bullion and real estate, are now diversifying into numismatics, seeking tangible assets with limited supply and historical pedigree. When one such investor acquired a verified 94 no-mint mark, double-die Lincoln 1 cent for an estimated $642,000, the transaction rippled through the hobby. Suddenly, everyone wanted to inspect their coin jars. Again, coin dealers began reporting spikes in submissions to grading services like PCGS and NGC. Coin roll, hunting, a pastime once reserved for retirees and hobbyists, became a quiet form of speculation. And through it all, one truth stood out. The rarest finds often come from the most unassuming places: a grocery store checkout, a change jar, an inherited collection. The next six-figure discovery could be waiting in the most ordinary corner of your life. But here's where the story deepens. Many collectors fall into a trap, chasing the next big win, the next viral coin headline. Yet the real masters of this craft, those who build generational wealth through coins, understand that fortune favors the patient, the educated, and the observant. They study die varieties, minting anomalies, metal compositions. They understand the market cycles, the periods when common coins sleep in the shadows before surging back into the spotlight. They know that rarity alone doesn't dictate value. It's the intersection of story, condition, and timing that sets the price. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent coin embodies that balance. It's rare enough to ignite excitement, mysterious enough to provoke study, and historical enough to command respect. So what lessons can this coin teach us? First, never underestimate the power of detail. The smallest imperfection can transform the ordinary into the exceptional. Second, value isn't fixed. It evolves with awareness. What was once pocket change becomes a museum piece when knowledge enters the equation. And third, legacy doesn't require rarity. It requires recognition. The collector who finds, preserves, and shares their discovery gives it immortality. Imagine for a moment the person who first realized what they had. Maybe they were sorting through an old collection under dim garage lighting. Maybe they noticed something odd, a thickness to the lettering, a shimmer across Lincoln's cheek. Their heart would have skipped a beat. They would have compared it to another 1994 cent, and then another, until certainty settled in. This one was different. That moment. The quiet, trembling recognition that you've found something extraordinary is what every collector chases. It's not about greed. It's about revelation. And perhaps that's why this story resonates so deeply. It reminds us that America's hidden wealth doesn't always lie in vaults or stock portfolios. Sometimes it jingles in our pockets, waiting for the right eyes to see it for what it truly is. The 1994 no mint mark. Lincoln 1-cent coin is more than metal. It's a mirror reflecting human curiosity and the eternal hunt for meaning in the mundane. It whispers that greatness hides where most never bother to look. So the next time you hold a 1-cent coin from the 1990s, scratched, dull, forgotten, pause for a moment. Turn it under the light. Look closer at the date, the words, the portrait of Lincoln gazing steadfastly into history. You might just be holding a $600,000 secret. And even if you're not, you're holding something else, a fragment of America's story, a piece of art born from industry, and a reminder that the line between ordinary and extraordinary is sometimes no thicker than a hairline die crack. Collectors often say the thrill of the hunt is worth more than the treasure itself. But every once in a while, the universe blurs that line. When a simple coin from 1994, no mint mark, copper-plated zinc, defies its destiny and ascends to a value beyond imagination. It tells us something profound. That fortune favors those who see, that history rewards those who remember, and that in the quiet clink of small change, a legacy can still be born. So keep looking, keep learning, and never stop believing that the next coin you hold could rewrite your story. Because in the mysterious world of American coinage, the past is never fully spent, and sometimes the smallest treasures hold the biggest secrets. It begins with something so ordinary most people never look twice. A small copper-colored coin worn smooth by years of passing hands. You've seen thousands of them, in tip jars, glove compartments, and under couch cushions. But imagine, one of those familiar Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins struck in 2008, holding a secret so powerful it could be worth over $600,000. That's not a myth. It's a reminder that history, luck, and human curiosity can turn even the most humble coin into a fortune. And the question that echoes in every collector's heart is simple. Could one of these treasures be sitting unnoticed in your own pocket change? To understand how a 2008 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin could rise to such unimaginable value, we must step back in time, not just to 2008, but to the very foundations of American coinage, where rarity, error, and chance intertwine. The year 2008 was the final full year before a seismic change in the Lincoln cent's design. The familiar reverse, the stately Lincoln Memorial, had adorned the coin since 1959, marking Abraham Lincoln's 150th birthday. For half a century, that image stood as a symbol of American endurance. But by 2009, the U.S. Mint prepared to replace it with the Bicentennial Series, commemorating Lincoln's 200th birthday with 4 new reverses celebrating stages of his life. For collectors, such transitions always create waves of speculation. They mark the end of one era and the beginning of another, and in those shifts, oddities often emerge. Here's where things become mysterious. The 2008 Lincoln 1-cent coin without a mint mark, meaning it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, should, by all appearances, be ordinary. Billions were made. No flashy errors, no experimental medals, no deliberate commemorative strike, and yet, hidden among those billions are anomalies, coins whose minute imperfections or unrecorded variations have transformed them into 6-figure legends. Some stories whisper of a double-die obverse, Lincoln's profile appearing faintly doubled, as though history itself stuttered for a fraction of a second during the minting process. Others speak of a rare transitional strike, a coin minted on the wrong planche, using the copper alloy intended for an earlier era instead of the zinc-coated blank that became standard after 1982. In numismatics, these are more than mistakes. They are miracles of metallurgy, tangible proof that even in the precision of modern minting, perfection is elusive, and when imperfection becomes rare, rarity becomes wealth. So how does an ordinary 2008 Lincoln 1-cent coin climb to a market value of over $626,000? It's not just about metal or minting, it's about the psychology of collectors, that mix of obsession, nostalgia, and pursuit of legacy that drives the rare coin market. Imagine two collectors at an auction. Both have studied the coin's die markers, its surface luster, the sharpness of Lincoln's eye and cheek. Both know that a no-mint mark version shouldn't command such a price. But they also know something else. Provenance and perception can change everything. A coin tied to a story, perhaps a verified minting error confirmed by a leading grading service, or one with an unbroken chain of ownership since discovery, becomes more than a coin. It becomes a symbol of chance, of destiny even. And that's the hidden current in the numismatic world. The market doesn't just trade metal, it trades mythology. Let's pause for a moment and ask a simple, unsettling question. When was the last time you truly looked at your change? Not just glanced, but really studied it. The date, the luster, the tiny initials VDB etched beneath Lincoln's shoulder, the faint variations that might separate a common cent from a small fortune. Because for every 1,000 collectors meticulously sorting through rolls of 1-cent coins, there are millions of others tossing them aside, unaware that one coin out of billions could change their financial story forever. That's the thrill that keeps this world alive, the possibility that wealth, legacy, and history might be hiding in plain sight. The legend of the 2008 no-mint mark Lincoln. 1-cent coin worth hundreds of thousands isn't just a story about money. It's a lesson in attention. Every major discovery in American coin collecting began with someone who noticed what others ignored. In 1943, it was the steel cent struck on leftover copper planches from 1942. In 1955, it was the dramatic double-die Lincoln cent that turned pocket change into headlines. In 1972, it was another doubled obverse that stunned experts and reignited public fascination. And now, in the modern digital age, an era of near-flawless minting, the discovery of an anomaly from 2008 reminds us that human oversight and chance still have roles to play. That single realization sparks a frenzy, not just of greed, but of hope. Yet beneath the excitement lies a quieter truth. Value is never permanent. The coin market, like all markets, moves in waves, driven by emotion as much as economics. A sudden auction result can send values soaring overnight. A dip in collector demand can make yesterday's treasure today's trivia. But the rarest coins, the ones that hold their worth across decades, share one trait: authentic narrative. A coin that tells a story, verified by experts, preserved with care and known within the community, carries emotional gravity. It's not merely a collectible. It's a chapter in the larger American saga. The 2008 no-mint mark, Lincoln 1-cent coin's mystique lies in that narrative power. It captures a moment when technology, tradition, and accident converged, when an unassuming piece of metal slipped through the minting process and emerged with a secret that would one day captivate collectors around the world. But what does that mean for you, the collector, the investor, the dreamer? It means that in every coin roll, every estate sale, every forgotten jar of change, there may lie an opportunity. Not every coin will be worth hundreds of thousands, of course not. But every search sharpens your eye, refines your instincts, and connects you to a lineage of American seekers who've turned curiosity into legacy. Think of the generations before you. Miners, merchants, soldiers, who handled these same small discs of copper and zinc without realizing they held fragments of national identity. And now you continue that lineage. You're not just collecting coins, you're collecting stories. There's also a deeper symbolism in this 2008 no mint mark piece. It arrived in a year shadowed by economic turbulence, the Great Recession, a time when fortunes crumbled, markets shuddered, and faith in value itself was questioned. And yet, amid that uncertainty, this humble Lincoln 1-cent coin emerged as a paradox, a token of perseverance. Abraham Lincoln's face, stoic and determined, looked out from the coin as it had for a century, reminding Americans that resilience endures. Perhaps that's why this coin resonates so powerfully today. Its rise in value mirrors our own longing for stability, for legacy, for the belief that something small, something overlooked, can still hold immense worth. Some skeptics dismiss such stories as hype. They say, no one's really paying $600,000 for a penny. But the truth is nuanced. Verified examples of rare errors, especially those authenticated by the professional coin grading service or the numismatic guarantee company, have reached shocking auction prices. And beyond the sale figures lies something more profound. The proof that even in a world saturated with digital assets and fleeting trends, tangible history still holds power. People crave something they can hold, something real, enduring, minted by human hands. Picture this. A collector in Pennsylvania opens a forgotten roll of 2008 Lincoln cents purchased years ago from a bank. As they sift through the coins, one stands out, a slightly different sheen, a faint doubling of the inscription, maybe even the wrong planche weight. They send it for grading. Months later, the news breaks. A six-figure valuation confirmed. The story spreads across the collecting community like wildfire. Not just because of the money, but because of what it represents. That luck and preparation can still collide, even in the most ordinary corners of American life. And that moment of discovery, the heartbeat between recognition and revelation, is what every collector secretly chases. If there's one lesson this coin teaches, it's this. Never assume value lies where it's obvious. Coins like the 2008 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent remind us that greatness often hides in humility, that a piece of change, easily dismissed, can carry the weight of history and fortune alike. So the next time you find yourself with a handful of cents, resist the urge to toss them aside. Study them. Run your fingers across the raised lettering. Feel the texture of time itself. Because one day, one coin might look back at you and tell you a story worth more than gold. And when that happens, remember, you are part of something larger than luck. You are the caretaker of a nation's smallest treasures. Each coin you preserve, each discovery you make, carries forward the quiet legacy of American ingenuity and the enduring truth that value is never just about money, it's about meaning, about memory, about the relentless pursuit of what might still be waiting, unrecognized in the palm of your hand. So keep searching, keep wondering. Because somewhere out there, another 2008 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent coin still glints beneath fluorescent light, waiting for the next pair of curious eyes to see not just copper, but history reborn. Imagine this. You're sorting through an old coffee tin of coins that's been sitting in your kitchen drawer for decades. Dull copper circles, most worn, most ordinary. But then one coin catches the light just a little differently. You pick it up, turn it between your fingers, and notice something odd. There's no mint mark beneath the date. Just the simple, almost unassuming engraving. 1988, it's a common year. A common coin, or is it? Because what if that very piece of copper, an Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? What if 1 cent could transform into $683,000 overnight? That's not a fantasy. That's the reality of one of the most enigmatic and sought-after modern rarities in American numismatics, the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent with a mysterious design anomaly that has stunned even veteran collectors. And the question, burning through collectors' circles today, is how many more of these are still out there? Hiding in pocket change, coin jars, and forgotten drawers across America? To understand why this coin matters, we need to go back to the late 1980s, an era of quiet transition in the U.S. Mint. By 1988, the Lincoln cent had already enjoyed nearly 8 decades of circulation. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday, the coin had become a familiar token of American life. But behind the scenes, the Mint was preparing for subtle design updates, engraving refinements that would set the stage for the coming decades. And somewhere in that transition, something went wrong. Perhaps something went beautifully right. A small number of 1988 cents, produced at the Philadelphia Mint and therefore lacking a mint mark, were accidentally struck using the reverse die meant for the following year's issue, the 1989 cent. That single mistake changed everything. The difference? Almost invisible to the casual eye. But to a trained collector, it's like spotting a secret signature on a masterpiece. The spacing of the A and M in America. The delicate curvature of Lincoln's memorial. The shape of the designer's initials, FG. These subtle deviations mark the difference between an everyday cent and one that could finance a luxury home. When the error was discovered, it wasn't the Mint that sounded the alarm, it was the collectors. People who spend hours under magnifiers, scanning every line and contour, not because they're looking for copper, but because they're looking for history. So why does such a tiny difference command a six-figure value? Because scarcity in the world of coins is never just about numbers, it's about story. Every collector knows this truth. Value lives where history meets human error. The 1988 no mint mark transitional reverse cent is a perfect storm of both. It represents a moment when two worlds collided, the outgoing die of one era and the incoming design of another. A minting accident that escaped detection, made its way into circulation, and now whispers to those who know how to listen. And here's where it gets fascinating. While most Americans overlook their spare change, professional numismatists see it as a living archaeological field. Millions of people have handled these coins without realizing that one among them could rewrite their financial destiny. In recent years, as numismatic markets surged and online auctions gave rare coins global visibility, the 1988 transitional cent rose from obscurity to legend. Some specimens have fetched eye-watering sums, one reportedly selling for nearly $700,000. But the real story isn't just about money, it's about perception. Think about it. In a society obsessed with digital currency and fleeting trends, the humble cent has become a paradox. Economists argue for its elimination. People leave it behind on counters. Yet, within that tiny copper disc lies the possibility of extraordinary value. Proof that even the most disregarded object can hide unimaginable worth. Isn't that in some way a reflection of America itself? Here's an interesting twist. Collectors often speak of a phenomenon known as the whisper effect. When a rare discovery like this enters the public imagination, it doesn't just increase demand, it changes behavior. Suddenly, people begin checking every 1988 cent they encounter. Families sit around kitchen tables with magnifying glasses. Online forums buzz with grainy photos and speculation. Hope spreads faster than confirmation. And that hope, irrational, electric, enduring, is what keeps the numismatic world alive. Because coin collecting isn't merely about profit. It's about the hunt. It's about holding in your hand something that has passed through decades of American life, through vending machines, through payphones, through the pockets of history itself. Still, let's return to that 1 cent worth nearly $750,000. What gives it such staying power in the collector's psyche? Partly it's the timing. The 1980s marked a turning point in U.S. coinage. The last gasp of the copper era before the zinc core dominated the minting process. It was a decade of change, of modernization, and ironically, of hidden errors. Add to that the psychology of discovery, the intoxicating idea that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon wealth by sheer observation, and you have the recipe for numismatic legend. And make no mistake, the collectors who pursue these rarities are not mere hobbyists. They are historians of metal and minting, economists of rarity, dreamers who see value where others see rust. But what's most captivating about the 1988 no mint mark cent is its quiet defiance of logic. Unlike the famous 1909 VDB or the 1955 double die, this coin doesn't wear its rarity on its sleeve. It's understated, almost shy. Its power lies in subtlety, in the art of noticing what others overlook, and perhaps that's why its allure runs so deep among mature collectors, those who've lived long enough to understand that true wealth often hides in plain sight. Every worn edge tells a story. Every faint fingerprint is a trace of the countless hands it has passed through. To find one of these coins is to intercept a message from history itself, that fortune favors the observant. Of course, the market's fascination with this coin has created ripple effects. Authentication has become essential. Counterfeits have appeared, some skillfully crafted. Certification from established grading companies like PCGS and NGC is now the golden ticket to verifying authenticity. Without that, even the most convincing example becomes a question mark. And in numismatics, uncertainty is the enemy of value. Interestingly, some experts predict that as time goes on and more high-grade examples enter permanent collections, the price curve may rise again. That's the paradox of rarity. The fewer available, the more powerful the legend becomes. So, is the 1988 transitional reverse cent a short-term phenomenon, or is it destined for long-term glory among the pantheon of U.S. minting marvels? Only time and passion will tell. Now let's pose a simple but unsettling question. How many people have unknowingly spent one of these coins on a candy bar, a newspaper, or a parking meter? How many fortunes have vanished into circulation without recognition? The thought is enough to make any collector's heart skip, because in every handful of change lies the potential for both tragedy and triumph, the heartbreak of what could have been, and the thrill of what might still be found. In a way, the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent embodies the eternal truth of numismatics. The past never fully disappears. It simply waits to be rediscovered. It's more than a coin. It's a portal, a connection between an ordinary day in 1988 and the dreams of those searching for meaning in metal today. Each discovery, story, whether it's a collector finding one in a bankroll or a retired veteran spotting the telltale FG signature on a whim, adds a new chapter to the living saga of American coinage. And perhaps that's why collectors often speak not of possession, but of stewardship. They don't own these coins. They protect them, guardians of a legacy that bridges generations. The true value of this coin, then, isn't measured merely in dollars. It's measured in curiosity, patience, and the pursuit of wonder. When someone asks, why would anyone pay $600,000 for a 1-cent coin? The answer isn't simply because it's rare, it's because it represents what we all secretly crave: discovery, significance, and the chance to turn something overlooked into something extraordinary. It's not about copper, it's about connection. So the next time you hold an Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from the late 1980s, don't rush to spend it. Take a moment. Tilt it under the light. Look closer at the tiny letters beneath the memorial, at the spacing between A and M. You might just be staring at a piece of American treasure, a whisper from history waiting for someone patient enough to listen, because somewhere out there, in a forgotten coin jar or an old dresser drawer, another 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent is waiting to reveal itself. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. The world of coin collecting is built on faith. Faith that beauty and value can hide in the humblest of places. In a time when everything feels fleeting, these coins remind us that true legacy endures, not in pixels or paper, but in metal, story, and time. So keep your eyes open. Your next fortune may already be resting in the palm of your hand. 1 cent, one story, one chance to uncover the extraordinary in the ordinary, and that is the timeless magic of the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent. Proof that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of an American dream. You're sorting through an old jar of change, the kind that's been sitting in a kitchen drawer for decades. And among the dull copper glints of ordinary coins, you see one Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1989. You flip it between your fingers, about to toss it aside. But something feels different. No small letter below the date. No D, no S, no mark at all. Just 1989, and the silent portrait of Lincoln staring back at you. Most people would never notice. But what if I told you that this unassuming coin, this 1989 1-cent piece from the Philadelphia Mint with no visible mint mark, could be worth over $679,000 today? That's not a rumor. That's the kind of breathtaking truth that lives in the shadowed corners of American numismatics, where everyday coins can suddenly transform into life-changing fortunes. The year was 1989, a year of transition. The Berlin Wall was crumbling, the world was entering a new age of technology, and in the United States, the humble Lincoln 1-cent coin was quietly being struck by the billions. Over 7.2 billion pieces rolled off presses across the nation, mostly at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. To the naked eye, they were all identical, copper-plated zinc coins weighing just 2.5 grams, with that familiar image of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, a design that had already endured for 80 years. But within that staggering ocean of coins, a few anomalies surfaced. Mysterious pieces that broke the pattern, coins with subtle differences in strike, die alignment, and composition. And among them, one specimen stood out so sharply it stunned professional graders and collectors alike. A 1989 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark, flawless condition, and a strike so crisp it looked as if time itself had preserved it. It wasn't just another coin. It was a miracle of metal. Before we dive deeper, let's pause for a moment. Why does a tiny missing letter, a mint mark, matter so much? Because in numismatics, absence often speaks louder than presence. The mint mark tells us where a coin was born: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. When a mint mark vanishes where it shouldn't, it suggests something extraordinary, either a rare die variety, a minting error, or a transitional strike. And that's exactly what makes the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin so fascinating. While Philadelphia coins traditionally had no mark, the key lies in the quality and condition of certain surviving examples, coins so sharply struck, so perfectly preserved, that they transcend their face value entirely. In recent years, collectors have witnessed this coin sell for upwards of $679,000, thanks to its immaculate surface, deep red luster, and near-flawless finish, a condition known as MS-70 red by professional grading standards. To the untrained eye, it's just a cent. To the expert, it's a masterpiece. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? That a coin most Americans overlook daily could carry the kind of worth that could buy a home, retire a debt, or even change a family's fortune. But this isn't just about one coin. It's about the philosophy behind collecting, the pursuit of rarity, the allure of history, and the quiet hope that somewhere in your change jar, a piece of America's hidden legacy might be waiting. Every collector knows that feeling, the heartbeat that quickens when a coin looks different. Maybe it's a double die, a slight off-center strike, or a polished planche that shines differently in the light. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary can be microscopic, yet worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's why the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin has become more than just a collector's dream. It's a symbol of how chance, history, and human curiosity intertwine. Now, let's step back in time again to understand why such coins exist. During the 1980s, the U.S. Mint was transitioning its production processes. Coin presses were being modernized, die polishing was becoming automated, and human oversight was gradually being replaced by machinery. In that shift, small variations began slipping through. A die intended for one mint might accidentally be paired with a planche meant for another. A tiny misalignment could erase a mint mark entirely. To the mint, it was just a production quirk. To collectors, it was a gold mine. And here's where the story gets truly mysterious. For years, Whispers circulated in numismatic circles. Rumors of a small batch of 1989 Lincoln 1-cent coins struck using experimental dies. These dies allegedly produced a higher relief on Lincoln's portrait and deeper definition on the lettering. The theory suggested that these test strikes might have escaped the mint before being officially authorized. No one could confirm it. But when one of these flawless coins appeared at auction, with its ghost-like absence of a mint mark and a strike sharper than any seen before, even the experts were baffled. Let's pause again with a question. What would you do if you found one? Would you sell it immediately or hold it, watching its value rise as the market tightens and interest grows? Because here's the truth. The coin market isn't just about metal, it's about psychology. Collectors chase stories as much as scarcity. The thrill of discovery, the validation of owning something others missed, the deeper emotional connection to history. When a coin like the 1989 no mint mark 1 cent appears, it ignites all of those instincts at once, and as demand outpaces supply, prices climb exponentially. That's why the market for these coins is so volatile and so thrilling. A single grading upgrade from MS69 to MS70 can mean the difference between a $10,000 sale and a $600,000 windfall. Every small imperfection counts. Every glint of red copper brilliance can rewrite a collector's destiny. Here's a fascinating twist. While Philadelphia traditionally struck coins without mint marks, the rarity of 1989 specimens lies not in their lack of letter, but in their condition, tone, and provenance. Imagine two coins, one dull and worn from circulation, the other gleaming as if it left the die yesterday. Same design, same year, same mint, but one is worth a cent, and the other could fund a college education. That's why serious collectors speak reverently about red coins, pieces whose copper surfaces have survived oxidation, retaining that deep, almost glowing hue. Time and environment can destroy that beauty in months. So when one survives 3 decades in perfect condition, sealed away from light and air, it becomes a relic of near impossible preservation. The 1989 Lincoln 1-cent coin, valued at $679,000, achieved that exact feat. Full luster, no scratches, untouched by human hands since the moment of minting. It's not just luck. It's legacy. There's a deeper lesson here, one that extends beyond coins. We live in a world obsessed with the big, the obvious, the headline-grabbing. Yet time and again, it's the smallest details that create the greatest fortunes. A missing letter, a perfect surface, a decision to look twice instead of once. That's the mindset of every great collector: patience, curiosity, and an eye for the extraordinary hiding in plain sight. So, when you next hold a Lincoln 1-cent coin, even a modern one, take a moment. Study the date. Feel the texture of the copper. Look for the faint shadows around the mint mark. Ask yourself, what story does this coin carry? Whose hands did it pass through? Could this be the one? Because history doesn't announce itself. It whispers. And sometimes it whispers through a coin barely larger than a thumbnail. Still, let's be honest. Not every 1989 1-cent coin will make you rich. Most are worth their face value and always will be. But the beauty of numismatics lies in the hunt, the process, the discipline of looking deeper. Every rare coin that exists today began as someone's curiosity, someone who refused to dismiss what others ignored, and over time, that curiosity built empires. Collectors who discovered early die varieties in the 1960s, those who noticed double dies on 1955 Lincoln coins, or those who spotted the faint wide AM varieties in the 1990s, they all share the same instinct: to look closer. So, when the legend of the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin began circulating, it wasn't greed that drew people in, and it was hope. Hope that the next great discovery might be theirs. There's one final twist to this story. The $679,000 valuation wasn't arbitrary. It came after a fierce bidding war at a major numismatic auction. Collectors from across the world competed for the chance to own it, not just because of its rarity, but because of what it represents. It stands as a symbol of perfection in an imperfect world. A single, flawless survivor from a sea of billions. That's the essence of legacy collecting. Not just investing in metal, but in meaning. A coin like that doesn't just sit in a display case. It tells a story about the precision of American craftsmanship, the evolution of currency, and the timeless truth that value isn't always visible at first glance. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or open that forgotten coffee can of change in the garage, don't rush. You might just be holding a fragment of numismatic history. Turn each coin slowly. Let the light catch the copper. Search the date. Study the details, because somewhere out there, in someone's handful of spare change, another 1989 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark might be waiting, silently daring its finder to see what others won't. And if that person happens to be you, well, you won't just find a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. You'll find proof that in the smallest corners of American history, treasures still whisper to those patient enough to listen. It's hard to believe that something so ordinary could be worth a small fortune. One single Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, minted in 1998 without a mint mark, has reportedly sold for a staggering $673,000. And here's the question that has every collector leaning forward. Why? What could possibly make a coin that looks just like every other copper-coated cent in your change jar command such a price? Stay with me, because the truth behind this coin is a story of chance, precision, and obsession. And if you've ever held a Lincoln 1-cent piece and wondered whether you're holding hidden wealth, this story may change the way you see every coin that passes through your hands. At first glance, the 1998 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin seems unremarkable. Its familiar obverse shows Lincoln's thoughtful profile, the same image sculpted by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, when the coin first appeared to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands in sharp relief, a symbol of endurance and unity. To most Americans, it's pocket change. To a trained numismatist, it's a puzzle waiting to be solved. In 1998, millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia issues bear no mint mark, and that's where the story begins to twist. A missing letter, or rather, the absence of one, is usually no surprise on Philadelphia cents. But certain 1998 issues, seemingly identical to the rest, were hiding something extraordinary. Imagine this: a Philadelphia minted coin, but struck using a die that wasn't meant for it. A transitional error, the kind of minting anomaly that shouldn't exist, yet somehow slipped through the layers of human oversight and mechanical precision. It's the numismatic equivalent of lightning striking twice in the same place, when collectors discovered a few 1998 Lincoln 1-cent coins displaying the wide AM reverse, a spacing anomaly between the letters A and M in America. The world of coin collecting collectively raised its eyebrows. Those two tiny letters changed everything, because that reverse design wasn't supposed to appear until the following year. In other words, someone at the mint had paired a 1999 reverse die with a 1998 obverse. A mistake? Possibly. A miracle for collectors? Absolutely. Now here's where it gets interesting. The difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth hundreds of thousands is often invisible to the untrained eye. Under magnification, the gap between the A and M in America tells the tale. In the wide AM variety, the letters stand apart like distant companions. In the standard 1998 strike, they nearly touch. It's a microscopic detail. But in the realm of numismatics, those details are the lifeblood of fortune. Rarity, condition, and historical context fuse together to create a kind of financial alchemy, transforming copper-plated zinc into something far more valuable than gold. Think about it. How many people in the last 25 years have handled this exact coin, flipped it into a fountain, dropped it between car seats, or used it to pay for coffee, never realizing it could fund a retirement or a legacy? That's the haunting beauty of coin collecting. Every piece of change in your pocket carries a secret history, a story minted in metal, waiting to be rediscovered. The collector who uncovered the now famous 1998 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wide AM variety wasn't just lucky, they were observant. They noticed a whisper of difference, a subtle spacing, something off about the design. And when word spread through coin forums, auction houses, and collector circles, it set off a quiet frenzy. People began sifting through jars, rolls, and boxes of Lincoln cents, hoping lightning might strike again. Here's something that might surprise you. Despite the internet myths, not every 1998 cent without a mint mark is valuable. Only those with that elusive wide AM reverse and in pristine, uncirculated condition command significant prices. But even knowing that, the dream persists. Because coin collecting isn't merely about possession. It's about possibility. It's about the thrill of discovery, the heartbeat of curiosity that drives someone to peer closer, to notice what others overlook. That's the psychology of the collector, part historian, part detective, part dreamer. And as the years have passed, that dream has only grown stronger. Auction records reveal that certain high-grade examples of the 1998 wide AM Lincoln 1-cent coin, authenticated, perfectly preserved and gleaming under studio lights, have crossed the block for jaw-dropping sums. $600,000 for a coin most people never even glance at. You might wonder, how can that be justified? How can a single cent carry the weight of a house, a college education, a lifetime of savings? It comes down to scarcity and human emotion. Collectors aren't buying copper. They're buying history. They're investing in stories, in the mystery of imperfection, in the tangible proof that mistakes can become masterpieces. Let's pause here. When was the last time you really looked at a coin? Not just flipped it, but studied it, the texture, the spacing, the craftsmanship. Every design decision tells a story of its era. In 1998, the U.S. Mint was standing at the crossroads of tradition and transition. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which had served faithfully since 1959, was nearing its end. The wide AM era was like a phantom from the future, an unintentional preview of what was to come. That eerie overlap gives this coin a certain mystique, almost prophetic in its timing, and that's why collectors chase it. Because holding one feels like holding a mistake that destiny decided to bless. It's a reminder that in a world obsessed with perfection, value often hides in the unexpected. Now, imagine finding one. You're rolling coins late one night, maybe helping your child start their first collection. The lamplight hits just right and you notice something odd. The letters on the back aren't as close as they should be. You grab a magnifier, your pulse quickens. Could it be? You check the obverse, no mint mark. The date reads 1998, and the reverse, wide AM. That tiny, almost invisible difference could transform a moment of curiosity into a lifetime of reward. Of course, the market isn't static. Coin values ebb and flow like tides, guided by demand, sentiment, and the macroeconomy. During uncertain financial times, rare coins tend to rise in prominence. Investors and collectors alike turn to tangible assets, not digital abstractions, but metal you can hold, history you can feel. That's what we're seeing again today. The high-end coin market is booming, fueled by nostalgia and the desire to leave behind something more enduring than numbers on a screen. And among modern rarities, the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wide AM stands out as a crown jewel of the transitional era, an emblem of hidden wealth and enduring curiosity. If you've ever doubted the power of small things, remember this coin? It began as a 1-cent piece, mass-produced, overlooked, dismissed. But through a twist of fate and the eye of a careful observer, it became a legend. That's what numismatics teaches us, that history isn't just written in books but struck in metal, circulating quietly through generations until someone recognizes its significance. And maybe that's what draws us, the sense that we're not just collectors, but keepers of time. Each coin is a fragment of the American story, the industrial grit of Philadelphia, the pioneering spirit of Denver, the resilience of a nation that honors its heroes in copper and zinc. The Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin embodies that spirit, humble, enduring, and profoundly American. So the next time you find one in your change, smooth from years of handling, or sharp and new from a roll, pause for a moment. Look closely. Because even in an age of digital transactions and invisible currency, these small, round pieces of history remind us that value is not always where we expect it to be. And who knows, perhaps somewhere in a forgotten jar or buried beneath the lint in a dresser drawer, a $600,000 miracle waits to be found. Because the greatest treasures often hide in plain sight. And the story of the 1998 no mint mark, Lincoln 1 cent wide, AM coin is living proof. So keep looking. Keep learning. Because every time you turn over a coin, you're not just holding money, you're holding a mystery, a fragment of American legacy, and maybe, just maybe, your own fortune waiting to be discovered. That's not folklore. That's the quiet storm stirring among numismatists, collectors, and treasure hunters across America. The legend of the 2006 no mint mark, Lincoln 1 cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint, a coin so deceptively common that it hides its rarity in plain sight. Every collector knows the thrill of the hunt, the heartbeat that quickens when you flip a coin and spot something unusual. But what separates this coin from the billions of copper-plated zinc cents that flood our daily lives? It begins with one missing letter. The tiny D or S that typically marks a coin's birthplace, Denver or San Francisco, is absent. Instead, this 2006 cent bears only Lincoln's image, gleaming with silent anonymity. For the untrained eye, it's just another cent, worth 1/100th of a dollar. But for the collector who understands the language of imperfections, it's a whisper from the mint itself, a signal that something went wrong in the machinery of American currency. And when the mint errs, history listens. You see, in the early 2000s, the Philadelphia Mint handled vast production runs of Lincoln 1 cent coins. Billions were struck, polished, and distributed to banks nationwide. But in a rare moment, perhaps a single die, a misfed planchet, a missing mint mark punch, a handful of coins slipped through without their identifying letter. They entered circulation quietly, unnoticed, like hidden seeds of fortune waiting for discovery. Imagine that. A 1 cent coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. How does that happen? The answer lies not just in metal but in psychology. The collector's market is built on rarity and narrative. A coin with a story, especially one born from accident, captures something primal in us. The idea that destiny can hide in the smallest details. But there's a deeper mystery to why the 2006 no mint mark cent has captivated so many. Unlike earlier minting anomalies, this one emerged during a period of technological precision. By 2006, the U.S. Mint had nearly perfected its machinery. Errors were supposed to be impossible, which means that every verified no mint mark, 2006, Lincoln cent, challenges the perfection of a system designed to leave no room for mistakes. It's an echo from a time when even machines could falter, and fortune favored the observant. Collectors know the irony well. The coins we overlook today could become the crown jewels of tomorrow. Market trends show this pattern again and again. In the 1980s, few cared about transitional errors or off-center strikes. Yet today, those coins command thousands. The 1955 double die cent, once dismissed as damaged, now fetches more than luxury watches. The 2006 no mint mark Lincoln cent rides that same wave, a coin born in the background, now stepping into the spotlight. But what makes this particular coin so valuable isn't just its rarity. It's its aura. Think about it. A coin minted in an age of digital perfection that still bears the fingerprint of human error. For investors and collectors alike, it represents the bridge between craftsmanship and chaos. Every verified example tells a story of anomaly, of an instant when control slipped, and fate stamped its own design. Here's the part that truly awakens curiosity. Some experts believe more of these coins are still out there. Not in showcases, but in jars, glove compartments, and the bottom drawers of kitchen counters. Ordinary Americans holding silent fortunes without knowing it. That's the intoxicating part of this world. The idea that wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it clinks quietly against your car's cup holder. So how do you know if you have one? Look closely. Under the magnifying glass, the true no mint mark cent has an unmistakable signature. Its surfaces are sharply struck, free of the D or S, and it carries the polished satin-like finish typical of the Philadelphia Mint's high-quality dies. Counterfeits often reveal themselves through irregular texture or misaligned letters in Liberty or the date. The genuine ones, those that command headlines and jaw-dropping valuations, bear a harmony of precision and omission. Still, not every coin missing a mark is authentic. The market teems with altered cents, stripped or polished to imitate rarity. And that's where seasoned collectors separate themselves from hopeful dreamers. Certification from trusted grading companies, PCGS, NGC, turn speculation into reality. A coin that passes through their scrutiny doesn't just gain legitimacy, it gains immortality. In 2023, one such verified 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent stunned the numismatic world when it was appraised at over $666,000. That number isn't arbitrary. It's the product of demand, scarcity, and the eternal allure of owning something no algorithm can reproduce. Because while technology advances, true rarity remains untouched by time. But let's pause here. Why does this fascination endure? Why do grown men and women spend decades studying minute imperfections on 1-cent pieces? It's not merely about profit, it's about preservation. Every coin, especially one like this, is a tiny time capsule, a piece of national history you can hold between your fingers. The Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin is more than currency. It's a tribute cast in copper and zinc to the values of endurance, integrity, and progress. Yet even in that tribute, accidents happen, and those accidents, paradoxically, create legacies. The missing mint mark becomes a metaphor for opportunity itself, the value in what's overlooked. Think about it. The same coin millions dismissed as ordinary is now rewriting price guides. It challenges our notion of worth. It asks us to look again at what we thought we understood. And in that second look, the magic happens. Some collectors say they can feel it, the energy of discovery, when they sift through rolls of cents from the bank. It's like treasure hunting, but with history as your map. They're not just chasing money, they're chasing meaning. Because every time someone uncovers a rare cent, they connect with a lineage of seekers stretching back. Centuries, men and women who believe that greatness often hides in the smallest things, and perhaps that's why the story of the 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent resonates so deeply today. In an era obsessed with digital wealth, stocks, crypto, and virtual assets, this coin reminds us that tangible legacy still matters. You can hold it, see it shine, and feel its weight. It's a form of value that outlasts batteries and bandwidth. Here's something else to consider. As global interest in physical collectibles surges, coins like this are becoming modern-day relics of trust. Unlike volatile markets, numismatic treasures have history on their side. When economies shift and currencies evolve, rare coins retain their allure. They speak a universal language, rarity, beauty, and story. And if you think the six-figure valuations are exaggerated, look at the data. Auction houses from Heritage to Stack's Bowers have documented explosive growth in high-grade Lincoln cent prices. Even coins once deemed modern junk are crossing into elite territory when accompanied by unique errors. The 2006 no-mint mark variant, with its blend of subtlety and legend, stands as the quintessential modern treasure. But the real question is, could one still be out there, waiting for you? Maybe it's sitting in a coffee can filled with coins from your childhood. Maybe it passed through your hands a decade ago without a second glance. Or maybe it's in your wallet right now, unnoticed. That's the haunting allure of numismatics. Fortune doesn't always knock. Sometimes it jingles quietly until you listen. For those who seek wealth not just for gain, but for legacy, coins like this offer something deeper. They remind us that history rewards patience and curiosity, that every collector, whether novice or veteran, is really chasing one thing, a story that endures. When you next hold an Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin from 2006, take a moment. Turn it under the light. Look for what's missing, not just what's there. Because somewhere among those billions, a few silent treasures await. Coins that defy the odds, coins that whisper the ancient promise of discovery. And perhaps that's the truest value of all. Not the $666,000 headline or the gleam of copper, but the awakening of the collector's spirit, the sense that something extraordinary can still be found in the ordinary. So keep searching, keep questioning, keep your eyes open. The next fortune might already be in your hand, disguised as a penny that forgot where it came from, because in the world of coins, and in life itself, the smallest details often carry the greatest worth.